Lord have mercy.
All right, well, we're live. Sorry.
Are you being religious today? Are you being that type of Christian that doesn't let us talk and start listening to music?
I'm sorry. I was trying to be creative and yeah, we did a different thing here today. So we're live, y'all, by the way. So
hello, everybody.
Morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Pondusi, the day before Christmas Eve and 2 days before Christmas and 7-8 days left in the year. Is that right, Barb? You're counting down. You're counting down the years, and only 30 days or 20-something days before Trump is out of office. Is that
today?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, that's right. Allegedly, some say.
28 days. 28 days.
28 days. Hey, listen, Stephen, that was a great show we did last week. It was so funny. I've watched it several times, and it was fun. We didn't have a lot of material, but that was what made it funnier. It was only like 27 minutes. So it was really funny.
Just reading tweets is all it was.
Yes, yes. Welcome to Coffee and Pondusi. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts. We're glad to have you. Today's a special show 2 days before Christmas. I was able to get my contacts in, so I know it's going to be a great day. It was 30 degrees here in Charlotte last night. Did anyone notice that?
It was cold to walk this morning, I'll tell you.
Oh, you walk every morning.
I had my Illinois winter clothes on, so I felt good. And then about halfway, I'm like, "Ooh, this is too much," because the sun came. It was like, oh, it is good.
It felt like upper New York without the snow.
Not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, I moved away from New York partly because I was tired of the snow. I'm happy for the cold to stay up north of the Mason-Dixon line. Thank you very much.
We love it. Well, we were hoping to get a white.
Are you home or you went to Chicago?
Yeah, I didn't hear you there.
Are you home?
Are you in Charlotte,
Yeah,
Barbara?
I'm not going anywhere. No, I'm staying.
She's at an undisclosed location.
I'm in the bunker myself.
Yeah, we're on the bunker.
I got my little rebel flag up there.
I see.
No, I don't even want to go to South Carolina anymore.
Oh yeah, that's kind of they're kind of dangerous. All right, I guess we should start.
For people just listening, it's not actually a rebel flag. It's just a seditious flag.
A seditious flag. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and start the show. We're going to go around the Brady Bunch screen. Today, our topic is living as Latinx and living as Christian in America. Not sure we're going to go with that show, but we will find out here momentarily. We're going to go around the Brady Bunch screen. Everyone, please introduce yourself and your button or your imaginary button or whatever you want to say. You probably don't have the Brady Bunch screen in front of you, do you, Mama Ruth? So, okay, then. Okay, well, in that case,
Stephen, me, and Ruth, right?
I think it's Stephen, Barbara, and me, and then you, Chris.
All right, so Steve, why don't you start so we can start sharing?
All right, I'm Stephen DiFiore. I'm a member of the Libertarian Party of Mecklenburg County, and I am the voice of reason on this show.
Okay.
And very handsome, almost as handsome as Christian, people often say.
Everybody's saying that, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's saying that. Okay.
And off to the next person.
Yes.
Okay, that would be me. Good morning, I'm Barb Bacon, and I'm a healthcare advocate here in South Charlotte, and I've had several neighbors come down with COVID, so I am really hunkered down. I am not doing anything. It's scaring me. So all my Christmas shopping done. Everybody in Illinois has their gifts, so I'm a happy person. So my button is still Black Lives Matter, and I'm saying healthcare for all.
Great. Good morning, everyone. This is Mama Ruth. I'm Ruth Perez, community advocate. I'm sorry I'm late, and Feliz Navidad. My buttons, like always, are gun sense reform, Black Lives Matter. That is causing a lot of lives to die when we don't have knowledge and sense of ownership about guns. And of course, Medicare for all. We definitely need some relief, and we need to have equality and equity on the Medicare for all our U.S. residents in the nation. That's about it. I wish you all a very happy Merry Christmas. Feliz Navidad a todos.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I'm Christian Cano, one of your other co-hosts, along with Mama Ruth, and my button is Medicare for All, Moms Demand Action, Gun Sense legislation. Also want to encourage people to practice as safe as you can during the holidays. Try to follow the guidance in your area. Wear masks. Vaccinations are going out now. If we can just get through these vaccinations and continue, hopefully we will be together this time next year. I have like 10 mugs that Tara Long brought us back in, I think it was March, that I have not been able to give away to individuals. So as we always do in Coffee and Pondusi, we want to salute to Coffee and Pondusi, to our neighbors. Ching, so whatever you drink.
That's my Christmas mug. Darn it.
Yes, yeah, thank you so much. And I was going to put Bailey's this morning, but we've got to drive out.
Early.
So this is a Winterfest mug from Carowinds. If you've never been to Winterfest, I highly recommend it. They are doing a very good job this year of being open while practicing as best they can safety protocols for people who are worried about COVID, so that folks who are worried can still go and enjoy themselves in a nice outdoor Christmassy setting. I am not being paid by Cedar Fair to say that. I'm just saying it was fun to hang out with friends.
Hey, Steven, was it packed? Did you have to make a big line, or did you? I mean,
When I went, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't very crowded. No.
Yeah, well, I've never been there. I heard it's really nice during like Halloween and then also Christmas. They decorate everything. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You know, I don't like roller coasters really, but I do enjoy, like, you know, seeing the shows and walking around, looking at the decorations, hanging out with friends. You know, the go-karts are fun, bumper cars, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
You can just look at me with my little Christmas ornament.
Yes, it looks.
That's fantastic.
Yes, don't drive distracted. So, all right. Okay. Also, we want to make sure that we support and we thank our Pondusi sponsor, Manolo's Bakery on Central Avenue. Manolo's Bakery on Central Avenue for tamales, tres leche cakes, all of those wonderful things that you may need for your holidays or to give away. It's on Central Avenue. Please support your Black and brown businesses in the Charlotte area, or all small businesses, you know, for that reason. So we're going to talk
in
today.
Parentheses, let me tell y'all about Manolo's Bakery. He has an organization that all the profits that goes to from making all his hoodies and t-shirts made by immigrants' hands are reaching out to the mountain people out there, to a lot of needy families. And he had the pleasure of having Mr. Luis Fonsi. I don't know if y'all ever heard of him. Luis Fonsi is a very international singer and songwriter in the Latin community. He is the one that made the hit of Despacito, and he actually wore one of our Manolo's Bakery's hoodies made by hand and published it. So we are very honored to see how Manolo is going up and getting extended internationally.
Yeah, I saw that. That was cool. I thought that was a little celebrityness there that Manolo. Much deserving of doing that. So let's talk about growing up. If you did, you know, after I thought about this, I thought, well, you know, there are people who do not grow up Christian, and there are people who do not practice any faith. And so, you know, we may want to kind of touch on those topics as well. And there are people who grow up Jewish or grow up Muslim or the other religions as well, Buddhist, and so forth. I'm trying to be ecumenical here. And believe it or not, there are people who grew up Southern Baptist, bless their heart. So
I know a few. Yes, pity me.
So I guess the reason I wanted to talk about this topic was because there seems to be, especially this time of year, there seems to be, it has really ramped up like in the last 5 years, this myth about war on Christmas, that somehow there's this American war on Christmas. And it's really been spearheaded by white evangelicals and white uh, preachers like Pat Robinson, Franklin Graham, some of the other more notable, more political kind of slash religious people. And it's been caught on by a lot of elected officials who try to pander to that group, like Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham. A lot of those individuals kind of do that as well. And as I started to think about that, and I think we've kind of, I don't know if we have seen it during the Trump era, those of us who have grown up Christian, unfortunately have always had to live in the shadow of white Christians, especially those type of Christians. And unfortunately, they haven't always given us they've given us kind of a bad image. They haven't done great in the PR section of promoting Christianity. And so the reason I say that is because a couple of years ago, I unofficially scanned my Facebook page and I looked at all the individuals that follow me or that I follow that are friends of mine on social media. And I looked at the ones that said that they were, just kind of people of faith. And I saw what they posted. And then I saw the other individuals that don't really push that as much on their social media. And I looked at which ones were complaining all the time and which ones seemed to be happier. And it seemed like the ones that were people of faith are always complaining about something. And I thought, well, if this is a marketing, you're not winning, because if I was a young person wanting to know, if I want to join this church or whatever, I would go, God, you have so much drama in your life. Why would I join your church? Everything's so miserable. Whereas there are a lot of people who I follow that are just good people. And I'd be, oh, I want to join their church. So with that said, terrible introduction. Tell us what you think. I mean, I don't know where we don't have to really dig into anything deep here. I just thought it was interesting because it seems like a lot of times there's a certain part of our Christian faith, especially here in America, that almost sets a bad example for so many of us who maybe, I don't know, anybody who wants to, Barbara, you see like you may want to say something, or Stephen, I don't know, what do you think?
No, I'm just enjoying watching you flail on this. This is fun.
So full disclosure, so people know where I'm coming from. So they're like, what is this? What's he going with this? I grew up Catholic. It's a family, something that my family is, and they still are. Many of them still are. As an adult, I kind of went away from Catholicism as a young adult, and then we became Lutheran, which is Catholic light. And we really became Lutheran because of the Lutheran churches, at least the ECLA's part of Lutheran Church, which embraced equality, women ministers, women priests, these kind of things. That fit more in line with my values and so forth. And I kind of broke away from the Catholic Church and I became Lutheran because of how they stand on a lot of issues. But now that Pope Francis has been the Pope, I have been very encouraged about some of the things that he's said, but also not sure the church is actually going that direction, but it's been nice and reaffirming to hear him say some of the things that he has said. And I don't know, maybe one day I may join the Catholic Church back again. But there are many members of my family that not only are still practicing Catholicism, but many of them have gone to other Christian, maybe non-denominational churches that they're members of. Some of them evangelical, some of them, just I guess you would call non-denominational Christian churches and so forth. And everyone has their own kind of traditions and so forth. But as I look at, especially here in Charlotte, where we have more churches, there's like 50 something, we have more churches than there are schools or whatever. There's one at every corner. That's just the way it is here. But the only ones that really get attention here are Franklin Graham. When he says something, he gets all the attention, and he doesn't really represent I don't know. I mean, I don't think he represents, he probably represents maybe 10% of what people believe here. And he's like the old kind of Charlotte church thinking. There's a lot of really big, wonderful churches. Evolution Church, the big Catholic church here is the largest Catholic church in America, St. Matthew's. We have Myers Park Baptist Church, which it has the word Baptist in its name, but it's a very, very progressive church. There's a lot of synagogues here that are very progressive. There's also synagogues here that are not very progressive. And so, you know, there's a lot of people, but then, and there's also a lot of people who don't follow any religion. And so I just thought this was an interesting topic to talk about as we go into Christmas, because once again, I heard Franklin Graham talking about the war on Christmas. And I'm like, what war are they talking about? We celebrate Christmas in my family. So anyway, does anybody want to talk about that? Then
Yeah, I'll talk about that.
Thank you.
I'll talk about the war on Christmas, my friend.
Okay.
And you know what? There is a war on Christmas because Christians are not allowed to shove their religion down people's throat anymore. And that is a terrible thing. All joking aside, you know, the folks who mostly push, in my perspective, the war on Christmas issue are those with something to gain. So it's always like the televangelist types, Pat Robertson, the Grahams, people that have TV channels or big social media outreach. You have news organizations like Fox News, which have a more conservatively skewed demographic, and it's not Fox News as a entire, like as a whole organization. Specific pundits. I remember watching. My grandfather was watching. Who's oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name now. The We'll Do It Live guy. What was his name? He was a pundit on Fox News for a long time. I'm drawing a blank on his name. He always wrote books.
Jimmy Swagger?
No, he was like the big one. He recently got kicked off of the show, of the TV station, because of a sexual harassment case.
Oh, that could be any of them.
Oh, Crawford Dollar.
No, oh my gosh, hold on a second. This is embarrassing that I'm drawing a blank on his name.
John
I can
Hagee?
see Fox News person. Anyways, so while I try to figure this out, these folks who are trying to push these narratives, they have a reason to do it, and it's to get viewership, or to Bill O'Reilly, that's the name I was thinking of, to push viewership, and to get clicks and to get likes. And the same thing with social media, right? So we have you know, the people who are pushing, you know, their religious beliefs on social media, and people tend to when they push that social media stuff, it's like, hey, I'm having a problem, but I want everything to seem awesome and hunky-dory, right? So people that are well adjusted and don't have any issues in their life typically ignore social media. They just put up pictures of their kids, or hey, me and my friends went to this concert and it was fun, and all these other things you don't get. But, you know, people who are screeding about politics all the time, like me, or people who are, you know, making these posts about, you know, their faith and God in their life, it's usually because they're having some kind of issue. And that's like the one, like that's an outlet they have to kind of get that out there. But I honestly think, and from most of my family's religious, right? So I was raised Catholic. You know, Charlotte is a religious city. It's in the top 50 list of the most biblical cities on, you know, the U.S. Bible Magazine list, right? So, you know, there's a lot of churches, a lot of religious people in this city, but you know, there's a trend where younger people tend to be more secular. And as this bubbles into over like general society, folks who have grown up their whole life with, you know, the culture being one thing, when they see the trend start to move in a different direction, and a direction away from, you know, religiousness into more secular mindsets, it can be pretty, you know, uncomfortable. And so, you know, it's like the war on Christmas and all that kind of is a thing. And I don't really have an opinion on it one way or the other. The only thing I will say on the Christmas thing is that how dare Christmas music play the day after Halloween? It's just the worst. Or even before. You know what? I can almost forgive, you know, the first day of November, but to have it play in September, it's disgusting.
So
Halloween deserves its holiday, man.
What are
Yeah,
you talking about? I do Christmas in July. I start playing my Christmas music since July.
Oh my gosh.
I can see her doing that too.
I can see people doing that this year because you're in your house and you can do whatever you want. And I've seen more Christmas decorations than I think I've ever seen in my whole life, especially when I walk. This one street, there's like every house is decorated, and I've never seen that before.
You know, this year, Barbara, I did not decorate at all outside. Nothing. I didn't even put a light out there. All I did was just put a wreath, and that was it. I didn't have no motion. I didn't have no desire. It doesn't even feel like Christmas, to be honest. To tell you the truth, I don't even have a menu plan for tomorrow. I don't even know what I'm cooking.
Really?
That's how bad it is.
So Mama Ruth, I want to ask you, but before I ask you, I want to ask Barbara this because, Barbara, we don't really, we're all friends, but like most friends, there's certain things that we don't talk about. Out of respect for each other, like most families. Politics isn't one of them, but that's one that that's probably one that we're told not to. But we don't really talk about religion very much, and those kind of things. But Barbara, I get the sense that you are a person of faith. I don't know that, but do you feel like there's a war on Christmas, or do you feel like Christianity has changed during your or what do you think?
I can tell you when I was young,
Yep.
I came from a very, very large Catholic family. And church was everything. And my grandmother was like the godfather of the family. Not my grandfather, he very seldom spoke, but my grandmother, which she said something, you jumped. And as I got into my late teens, I was sick and tired of going to church 6 days a week, and I was going to be the rebel. And when I got to be 21, they weren't going to tell me what I was going to do anymore. And I moved away from my hometown, and it changes your perspective on things when that influence isn't over you all the time. And I've noticed it because now I go back home most of the time, not this year at all, but my younger cousins, as they're raising their children, they don't even talk about going to church. So I will quietly ask them if they still go to church, and they'll go at Christmas. They go for special things, but my one cousin said, God, if I walked into a church now, it would fall down on me, and I said, I'm not that bad, but it took me a long time when I got to Charlotte to find a church that I would consider going to. And St. Matthew's happens to be right down the street. But every time I would go, they'd come up to me and say, you need to join the church. And I'm like, you need to get out of my face because I don't like that. Yeah. I choose, not you. And I was tutoring 2 children that went to St. Gabriel's. Yeah. And I would go to church with them sometimes. So I kind of floated between 4 different Catholic churches, and I figured they won't catch a moving target, you know what I mean? But this one lady, I am like, she must have a quota or something. I don't know. Whenever I go, I go at different times on purpose. She seems to have a radar for me, and and my neighbor goes to St. Matthew's all the time. She says, you should go with me. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So, because I just don't want to get into that with my neighbor because we get along so well. We don't talk about religion, but I don't know.
So Barbara, do you think there's a war on Christmas?
I don't feel it in my family or my friends. I hear it in the news, but I don't see it. If I do, I don't pay any attention to it. Yeah. I don't, but I've heard it, and I don't know. I'm going to say fake news,
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's a ratings thing, personally.
Yeah,
I don't pay any attention to it.
So, Mama Ruth, well, what do you want to say? Or do you want to say anything?
That's true. As friends, as family, we respect each other, and we hardly ever talk about religion. Personally, I hate talking about religion because what I live is not religion. I live a personal life with my creator, and I just follow whatever he says. And if he tells me to love someone, I have to love them no matter what. And if I have to whine, I'll go up to him. I grew up knowing that Christianity, it's something that you carry on, you carry with you. It's not that you have to show off or do something to prove the world that you are a Christian.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't put up nothing. That doesn't mean that I mean, I might sound like Grinch, or people might drive down the street. All my houses around my neighborhood they have a competition. I usually enter. I didn't do this year. And they might think that I'm Antichrist, or I don't believe in Christmas, or I'm not a religion person. I don't care. I mean, it's my decision. I didn't feel like doing Christmas this year. And that's it. I mean, I haven't even finished doing my gift shopping at all. I believe that nowadays, I'm 44 years old. I think it has become more, what is it called? How can you put it? More consumer shopping.
I agree.
Selling.
Yeah, I agree.
Making people feel that if I don't buy you the right present, you're not worth it.
Yep.
If I don't buy my kids that Xbox 5 or Xbox, the expensive things, I don't love them enough. That's how I feel Christmas becoming. Because before, you didn't need a present together with your family. You didn't need a lot to spend the best Christmas in time. Now it has become more consuming, more expensive, more and all you're doing is just giving your money and the hard work of all throughout the year to retail stores, or to make someone happy, or make them feel happy, not make them happy, make them feel happy. And that's not happiness at all. So I don't really think, I haven't seen a lot of churches either this year mentioning too much about Christmas like before.
Well, and those are really good points. And I think what the things that I wrote down before the show, some of the observations that I've had, and what I have observed in Charlotte, and I can't speak about other areas, every other area is different and so forth. But what I find in Charlotte is when we think of the term of the brand Christianity, for some reason here, it is attached to white churches. It is attached to the white churches.
Just say it, wealthy.
I would disagree, because when I moved down here, one of the first things I noticed was how vibrant so many of the historically Black churches were.
Yep.
Like the AME churches and a lot of the Methodist churches. I was taken aback by, like, wow, that's a lot of energy. Because where I grew up, it was all Catholics, and then like maybe the one Methodist church down the street.
No, Stephen, you're right. And I think this is what I was trying to say, was that it's not that way. But when you watch the news, or when you watch Charlotte Observer, or even when you watch PBS and they're doing stories about holidays and Christmas, they're only going to the Episcopal Church of Providence, or they're only going to Charlotte Baptist Church, or those white churches. They're not getting perspectives from the rest of, like, the Black churches. I'm not hearing the AME Zion pastor talking about Christmas. I'm hearing Franklin Graham. They're quoting Franklin Graham about Christmas. They're not quoting other individuals. And so it seems like here, and I don't know if that's the way it is everywhere, but here it just seems like anytime there's any conversation about church or about churches meeting, whether it was COVID, when they're talking about COVID-19 and how churches want to meet, they're not talking about Black and brown churches. They go and interview the white church out in Gastonia, or they go out and they interview some of the other churches. They're not talking about the churches of color. And so it does seem like the brand of Christianity here in Charlotte is being led by more white, predominantly non-diverse churches. And that's not the, there's so many other churches that I have been visited or I have seen that to me are so much more relevant, so much more modern in their beliefs. I mean, I would, if I went back to church, a Catholic church, I'd probably go more to St. Gabriel's than I would to St. Matthew's, because St. Gabriel's is a more diverse denomination, a parish, and it's very, they celebrate all kinds of different culture diversity there, which is kind of the churches that I grew up in Texas. And St. Matthew's just seems to be a big white Catholic church.
Yep.
So
It could be because of where it is located too, though, right? Because in the South, depending on where you live, because of the history of segregation and redlining and all that, in the South, in North Carolina, different areas of this of the county and of the city are very much made of one ethnic group or another, because there hasn't been a lot of integration.
So, but the reason I'm saying this, Stephen, and maybe you guys can jump in and tell me what you think. The reason I think this is so important is because what I have seen over the last decade, because white churches have been the face of Christianity, we're losing people, because people who want to go into churches or who want to practice Christianity or whatever, that's the face of it, and it turns them off. They don't want to be like Franklin Graham. They don't want to hear all the hatred from Franklin Graham. They don't want to hear all of that kind of stuff. They want to hear what Ruth has to say, what Barbara has to say, you know, what you have to say, Stephen, because that's
No one wants to hear what I have to say.
well, yeah. I mean, there are people, believe it or not, and so, you know, I do think that if
that also caught my attention, where when we talk about, when I hear you mention that it's dominated or predominated by white people, and you know, the most famous Christian churches are the biggest, and they're owned by or led by white people. You got to think about it also, that the majority of the ones that bring or actually take the ministry down to the third world countries or those churches, the majority of them are the ones that go. I got invited for this February. I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but it is a white church. It's not even a Hispanic. It's a white church that sent me an email that are planning to go to my country, Nicaragua, and they wanted to know if I want to join them. And they worried so much about Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Guatemala, you know, taking to the needy families. Yeah. They go and take food to them, medicine. They open orphans. They open food places for these kids and stuff, that I don't really see other countries or other nationality doing the same thing. So it's kind of, you know, balances in a way. I guess they're being more proactive and showing off a little bit more here in Charlotte than others. But I believe that if African Americans, if Hindus, or other nationalities will step up and do something, they will really open up doors. I mean, we have Nimish, you know, Nimish doesn't open up to others than his own people. He tries to do his own with his own community. And yes, he's around with our communities, but doesn't really open up to our community. He shows up, but doesn't do much.
Yeah, that might be a cultural thing though, Mama Ruth, because I do know, for an example, like in my family, for an example, there's this kind of thinking that charity begins at home. So we have to take care of charity within our family before we can help other people. And so there may be some cultures that believe, before I can go out to Honduras, let's try to make sure that we take care of people who live in Charlotte first, which is why sometimes I kind of, not chuckle, but when I hear Franklin Graham and I hear what is the ministry that they run, whatever that one, that it's the big one that goes everywhere whenever there's an earthquake, and they do those kind of things. Every time I see them ramping up and they're going to help another country, and I go, why aren't you going to help Tent City in Charlotte? Why aren't you going to help the people that need to eat food in Charlotte? but yet you have to go all the way across the world to help someone when we have people who here.
But you gotta keep in mind, there are nonprofit organizations that help a lot here.
Yeah.
You know, and they're linked to it as well. They might not be the primary, you know, display, but they are co-participant in some of those ministries here.
Yeah.
And yes, I agree. Some of them usually rather go to other countries than helping here. Sometimes they might do it by ego, by show off, or by competition between ministries. There's a little bit of everything around.
Well, that's what I was wondering, and I don't know if y'all felt the same way, or if it's just me being over, you know, examining of things here in Charlotte. But it does seem like the bigger churches, the face of Christianity here, the ones led by Franklin Graham and the big Baptist church downtown, the big Presbyterian churches. It seems like all of those efforts are all about, quite honestly, the data shows over the last 20 years, the fastest growing, and the majority of Christians are Black and brown in America. And white churches like Southern Baptist churches and a lot of Episcopalian churches and more traditional white churches have had to outreach to Black and brown people because their numbers were they just didn't have the people to keep their denominations going. And so you have a lot of denominations that have shrunk and have fallen. And so as a result of that, they have had to do outreach to Black and brown communities to bring them into their just to keep people in the pews. And so it's advantageous for churches to go after more emerging neighborhoods just to keep people in their denomination. And so as a result of that, what I was saying was that it just seems like if the majority of people of faith, majority of people of faith in America, especially if you're Christian, are Black and brown, why aren't we, or why aren't they, not me, because I would be a terrible face of that, but why aren't they the face of Christianity in America instead of the white faces that we see in front of the cameras? Like I would love to see Black and brown ministers, whenever they're talking about, is there a war on Christmas, instead of interviewing Franklin Graham, going to a Black and brown church and saying, do you think this
we lacked today? We lacked in this program today. We lacked ourselves in this show, because we should have invited some of our folks, some of our friends that we know that are ministers out here in the community. That would have helped us kind of clear this up, that we don't have, knowledge of. Sometimes we don't really know, and we only see the other side of the fence because we're on this side, but we don't know how it is inside of it. I've never visited, I think I visited twice when they used to be down on Sugar Creek, African-American churches. I've never visited other than, other culture. And sometimes we don't know how it is inside. We don't know how their way of serving is different than maybe what we are used to. We're used to, like, I'm from Texas, I'm used to doing barrio block parties as a Christian, bringing little goodie bags, bringing food, and kind of spreading the gospel in a fun party place. That's the way we used to do it in Texas. Down here, I haven't seen that. So if we don't really know how it is internally, we will never find out.
Let me ask you a question. Do you feel that Latinx community is represented in the media, the reporters and everything? I think that's part of the problem. You only get that same focus. And when I first moved here, it was Billy Graham, not Franklin Graham. And there's a huge difference between what comes out of Franklin's mouth versus what his father had to say.
Oh, yeah.
The whole dialogue coming out of Franklin Graham's mouth is more derogatory and controversial. You never heard Billy Graham say things like that. And that has turned a lot of people off that I know that are of that faith here in Charlotte. It's fractionating, and I just don't see that your community is representative in the media enough to say, hey, why are we always doing this? Why don't we go interview this church or this pastor? I don't see it. I don't hear it. I think I would be more worried about that than I see. Religion for me it was such a focus from like age 4 to 20. It's totally a flip for me now. And I go when I want to, or I go when something happens to my friends or somebody in my life, and I worry about it. Like my niece in New Jersey has COVID right now, and she has been in and out of the hospital. They have never admitted her, but they're keeping her longer and longer, and it's scaring me. I went to church.
Yep.
And I agree with Ruth. I don't think you need to be in a building to have those conversations or thoughts or whatever you want to call it. It's here.
I do agree with Barbara on that. Yes, we're not being representative property. That's the problem. We are not being representative. I know one of our community leader, she is Pilar Perez. She works for the YMCA, and her husband are ministers in the United Methodist Church. And she tries, but she's not that open either.
Okay.
You know, and I feel so guilty and so bad right now because we should have invited some of these leaders on our today's show.
Yep. Well, I mean, I guess the main reason that I'm asking this question is because over the last, especially during COVID, we all have a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
Probably too much time to think. And especially as we go into the Christmas holiday season, I really start to reflect just more traditions and family and those kind of things and so forth. And what I have noticed, and I have been noticing this probably at least, I would say after 9/11. After 9/11, what I noticed was a surge of people going back to church. After 9/11, there was a time where people were just in shock. And then, of course, Passions of Christ came out, which really pushed people into believing. It was a very emotional film.
Greatest Mel Gibson movie ever made.
Believe it or not, I went to that with my parents, and they started going to church after that. They were so moved by that they started going back to church. Then I found a bunch of my cousins started to left the Catholic Church and started to join more non-denominational Christian churches, and they became born again. And so there's been this born again phase that kind of happened, and what I have found is, but there's also a lot more people that have seen that and have said, I don't want any part of that. That's too hokey. That's just not my life. That's not how I operate. And there's a lot more people who are leaving the church and they still consider themselves to be spiritual, but they just don't belong to a church, like an organized religion. And so I look at the people and I look at what they see on social media, what they see on the news, in regard to churches or Christianity. And there's some good stuff, but most of it's not good marketing. It's like when I hear someone like Franklin Graham, I mean, if I was not a person of faith, I would go, why would I join a church like his? He's just always mad. He's like one bitter Betty, And so what I'm saying is that if we could see more diversity on media, on social media, explaining how difference in people's faiths and how they celebrate their faiths and whatever, I think that we would, I don't know if we can stop the downtrend of people in Christianity, but I think that we could maybe get more people who are looking for that type of a church family to join. So, I'm just saying is that we're not doing a good job as Christians, and everyone's different, but we're not doing a good job of recruiting future Christians because the examples they see in us aren't always very positive examples. And they say, why do I want to, if you're what Christianity looks like, I don't want to be part of that, And so
Well, there are organizations, there are churches that are doing a really good job of expanding. So, for example, Elevation Church is growing like gangbusters. You know, that's a every year there's like 1 or 2 new locations, and they're always full on days where they have worship services, and it's, you know, it seems like one of those kind of like that hip new wave sort of method of experiencing a religious experience with a bunch of people, and they have like a lot of social programs and stuff like that, and they're flush with money because a lot of people go there, they have a profound experience, and then they tithe, and so they have more money to, you know, expand. I mean, Steve Furtick, the guy who you know owns the church, he doesn't live in a multi-million-dollar mansion for no reason, but like because people go there and they get something, and so they donate like a lot of money. Like they make, like that church makes more money than a lot of corporations in the local region do, because people are getting a profound experience, and you know, so they tithe, and then they keep expanding new locations. So like that's growing. You know, that's they're not experiencing shrinkage as far as their new membership.
No, but do you think, Stephen, and I don't know, I mean, do you think that they're more entertainment than they are church? And so people are using the money, their dispensable income they would normally give to entertainment, going to movies, going to concerts, going to Panthers games. They're just spending that money on the church because they can get the same entertainment there. So
I'm not going to make a judgment call on why people choose different forms of worship, right? So growing up, you know, going to mass as a young man, you know, it's all very somber and low key and all that, right? And some people like that, and that's cool. Other people like the more raucous, jovial, jumping up and down rock concert style worship. Like whatever it is that gets you to where you need to be, right? I'm not going to make that judgment call. I don't know what the right form of worship is. I mean, there are all different kinds of religions, all different ways of worshiping within even the same religion, right? So you know, you have, if you're talking about Christianity, you have the Catholic Church, and then you have the heretic churches. I mean, the Protestant churches. And I'm kidding, guys, but there are a lot of different varieties of methods of expressing your spirituality and your religiousness within a community in those different denominations. And I don't know what the right one is, but if you find something that you like, go for it. And it seems, at least to me as an outsider looking in, that the more you know, rock concert style worship service is very, very popular and growing. And you know, maybe that's just an American thing because Americans like that kind of thing. I don't really know, but you know, there is growth. It's just, you know, maybe it seems like more like the legacy style ways of doing things are kind of going by the wayside, or just, you know, treading water. And these new style of you know, religious service and religious expression, you know, is growing. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. And another thing is, I mean, being from the LGBTQ community, like you, not me, there's that whole stigma of, you know, God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, you know, and the older churches, you know, they you might not feel welcome. I don't really know. I'm just a straight white guy. What do I know? But some of these new wave churches don't really have all that baggage. And so folks who are of a more, you know, youthful, progressive bent, or maybe have alternative lifestyles, might not feel judged for the way they choose to live. They just want to experience the divine in whatever way they can, but not be made guilty for living a lifestyle they choose that doesn't hurt anybody else.
Well, no, I agree with you. And I think one of the wonderful things about Charlotte, because even though sometimes we always talk about what's wrong with Charlotte, there's some really great things about Charlotte. There are so many wonderful, loving denominations and churches here, whether it's Wedgwood Church, whether it's Myers Park, whether, you know, all these churches that are a place for someone who they're looking, if you're looking for a church family, there is some place for you here in Charlotte. And I guess that's really the message that I wish that we would share more in Charlotte, that not all churches are like Franklin Graham. That I don't even think Franklin Graham has a church. He has a evangelical association. They don't actually meet to do a service. I don't know what he does.
I don't pay any attention.
You know, I didn't even know who he was until I moved down here.
Yeah.
And then
well,
I'm driving and I see like the thing with the
Yeah.
library. I'm like, who's Franklin Graham? And the guy I'm in the car was like, dude, you don't know who Franklin Graham is? I'm like, I've never heard of him.
Yeah, I've been to many of the AME churches. They're wonderful churches with wonderful pastors, have great messages. I've been to the synagogues. I've been to the temples. I've been to all of those, and they're different. You know, they're all based about love and so forth. And so, you know, there's a lot of opportunity out there for people who are looking for a church family, if they're looking for a church family. And if they're not looking for a church family, there's also organizations that they can join, that they can maybe get that part of maybe whatever they need, you know, in their lives. But, you know, I don't know. I guess really, I wanted to talk about, and we didn't really, but kind of touched on it, what it's like living as a Latino or a Latinx person and living as Christian. And I don't know if y'all feel this way, or even Mama Ruth feels this way. Maybe we should have more Latinx individuals, or whatever the case may be. But it has been, just for me personally, it has been very difficult living as a Latinx person and as a person of faith. I happen to be Christian, because most of the people, or most of the churches are done under the I don't know how to say this right, but but without unless you're Latino and understand it, they're all like they're done under a white umbrella.
Mhm.
I don't know how to. It's
Their
especially.
Their emphasis is different than what you're looking for. They
Yes.
gear it towards what I call old-fashioned white Catholic church.
Yeah.
And that's not where you are.
Yes.
And I see it. And when I talk to my family at home, the ones that still go to church, they go to the new Catholic church. They don't go to the church we went to when we were kids, because they like that pastor better, and there's still the old fuddy-duddy where we grew up. You know, I said, how's that possible? He should be dead by now, but that's not even nice. But he isn't. He is still alive. He's like 91 or something. I'm like, whoa. But I don't know.
It's almost, you know, whenever I hear like a like I've been on some shows, on the Spanish shows, and they're run by evangelicals, Spanish evangelicals. And there's one that has a radio show, whatever, that couple that do the radio thing here and so forth. And if you look at them and how they do their ministry, it's almost what they did is go, this is what a white ministry does. We're going to do exactly that, except in Spanish. And so there's no difference other than they're doing it in Spanish. And what I'm saying is, why don't you just be yourself? Why don't you just do, you don't need the permission of the white people to practice your faith. It doesn't have to be like them. It can be you.
But there's a lot of those like that around this world. They don't have an identity. You know how Christian, myself, all of us here in this show, we are unique. No one can have the same thing. Just the way our fingerprints are different, no one else can have it. When we learn how to have the same mentality, that's where we're going to be able to success. And that's the problem with all our Hispanics, not only Christians. Everyone that arrives to this country wants to become a white person instead of being themselves and bringing their blessings into this country.
So,
you know what I'm saying? So it's crazy.
I mean, I wish everyone could have white privilege. Honestly, I think if everyone in America had white privilege,
and it's not only white privilege,
it would be a better country.
It's not about white privilege. It's about being not themselves and trying. Like, I know so many Latinos that they want to dress like white Americans.
Exactly.
You know, be yourself.
Well, what does that
even mean?
If you
can afford to get a Family Dollar sweater, and if it fits you nice and looks nice on you, you don't have to worry if it's not a name brand. Just wear it and be yourself. Don't try to copy no one else.
So Ruth just said what I've been trying to say for 60 minutes.
Ruth has a way with words, Christian. You can learn a few things from her.
That's really what I have been trying to say, Mama Ruth. What I've been trying to say, Mama Ruth, is we have so many Latinos, Latinx people, English and Spanish speaking, that come to Charlotte or come to America in general.
You know what I admire from Asian people? They don't
Mm-hmm.
try to copy no one.
Thank you. Yes. Yes.
They're gonna wear their, what is it called? Their tali, whatever on their thing. And who cares? If they don't like it, that's fine. They're gonna wear their big old thing right there to know in their culture they're married, and that's it.
Well, that's a religious thing. That's no different from wearing a crucifix.
But it's their culture. We are Latinos. We have our own culture. You come from a Italian background. You have your own culture. You know, you're not gonna try to be acting like an African American person when you know that your culture is different. So even though you're in this country, you gotta be yourself and show, you know, I'm not gonna dress up my kids just because my neighbor dresses up from Abercrombie and Fish. I'm not, you know, that might be a beautiful clothesline. I'm not gonna buy them Tommy Hilfiger because that doesn't go with them. I don't really like that, even though it might be expensive or whatever. I just don't like it. That's not us. So we have to learn how to be ourselves and be here. We came from another
self-conscious
country.
about my dress choice.
No, and you know, I have guests right now. I wear it because I like it. Not because I seen it somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, because I know a lot of Latinos, a lot of our Latinas people, they even go and buy hoochie bags, like fake bags. They don't care if they pay $100 than buying a real one. Why can't they just go to the Coach outlet and get it yourself if you can afford it? Don't go and buy the fake ones just to show off and be something that you're not.
They're called
hoochie bags.
You
have to learn that.
Did you say hoochie bags?
Gucci, it's a brand. You know what? I'm okay with Coach. I actually have a Coach attaché myself. Great, it's a great brand.
I have a backpack from Walmart.
Everybody likes my hat. Guess where I got it from? I got it from Family Dollar for $6.
Good job. Good job. Well, we are at the end of our show, and Mama Ruth basically said what I was trying to say the whole show was, you know, one of the reasons I find it difficult to, I have always found it difficult to grow up as a Latinx person and as a person of faith or as Christian is because it seemed like I was always measured by being a white Christian instead of being, you know, Catholicism in my family is not the same as Catholicism in white Catholicism. There are certain things.
It shouldn't be.
No,
That's your family. That's your culture. So
yes, I mean, you know, we actually say rosaries every Sunday on Zoom. Our message has always been less about anti-abortion or those kind. It's been more about loving, taking care of your family. Just the message has been different. You know, we're not the ones that are on the forefront of certain things. We're more about love, lead by example, because when people see you as a good person, that's part of being a Christian, you know, is living as a good person, you know, and so forth. And so, you know, it's been just a different message. And then so when I go to a Catholic or in past, when I'd gone to a Catholic, more white church, it was a very, very different message. And I always found it interesting that message was so different when the majority of people in that church were Latino. And I'm like, why don't you minister to the needs of the Latino instead of trying to change them into white Catholics? And I have seen some small churches here in Charlotte that are Latino or evangelical that are doing some really good stuff. I just hope that they stay being them instead of trying to copy Franklin Graham. Or you don't have to be a evolution church. You can be you. And
Elevation.
Yeah, Elevation Church. I think you can be you. Or if
And
you
there
want
is an Evolution Church as well.
Oh, is
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
I thought church and evolution didn't go together.
I don't know.
Hey, and just because, Christian, you can't be the only one to do it. I also have a little decade rosary just chilling out here. This is one of the cool ones where it was actually touched to a Catholic relic, the finger bone of a saint. So Catholics do it right. They actually keep pieces of their saints in little reliquaries.
Yeah.
Catholics invented goth. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and they sell them. And so anyway, so with that said,
tell my uncle that he'll crack up.
Yeah, I mean, you've never seen anything more goth than an ossuary. You look up, Polish ossuary or Roman ossuary in Google, and it's pretty hardcore. It's very heavy metal. I love it.
Well, as a Lutheran,
and I respect that. I respect that.
So
that's your choice.
You're entitled.
We're going to end the show by going around the Brady Bunch screen. Tell us who we're going to be for Christmas, or if you want to say anything. But I do want to end the show by saying that it has been such a pleasure to know all of y'all. Everyone who's been on this show. We've had people who were we had some people that were more of the faith, so to speak. But what I have found is they've all been really just good people, wanting to be good people, and I'm just so inspired every time Mama Ruth. I know I don't talk to you a lot, but you're so inspirational to me. You're how you practice your faith and how you treat others and things like that. It gives me hope. When I look at you and I think, wow. This is how I want our Latino community to reflect to other people. And Barbara, you're a loving, wonderful person who has the worst luck with construction. And I think how you
didn't kill him.
yes, and how you're so patient and you put up with all of that has been just amazing. I think that's wonderful.
I would have bought a whole bunch of voodoo dolls and I'd be stabbing them every week.
You know what the key is? You have to be a Chicago Bears fan. You learn.
You must be. And of course,
I'm
I can't.
Patient person in the whole world.
I have to say something.
And then be a Packer fan, and then you'll really learn patience.
I root for the Mets and the Jets. So
my God, Jets! Oh, you have my deepest sympathies. I'm sorry. I'll never
fumbles for life
again.
So let me say,
if you're not, then you're not a fan. You know that, right?
Listen, I'm a Cowboys nation, so leave me alone.
That's right. So Steven, I know Steven is funny. His humor is just so dry, but like
a gin martini.
Yes, and your humor
you put some olive on there, please.
Yes.
Well, are you saying that because I'm Italian and I'm olive complected? Racist. I'm playing.
So
I agree with you, Christian. He is so funny, but at the same time, he's so serious. Like, I don't know when he's joking or not.
Well, I have to wait because some of his jokes, I know they're jokes, but I'm going, where's he going?
Yep. They're harsh jokes.
It doesn't necessarily come across as best on Zoom unless you watch it again. Then you're going, oh, he was really joking. Like I had to watch last week's show again and he was talking about something and then he went, I'm joking. And I was like, oh, he was joking because it was just, anywho. So we've had a good time today and we're going to go around and let everybody know where you're going to be. And then we will see you next week with hopefully Stacey Abrams telling us about the Georgia elections. And it will be our last show of the year. So we will say goodbye to 2020. Bless your heart. That's what we're going to be doing. I guess it's going to be Steven, Barbara, me, Mama Ruth. Tell us where you're going to be.
I'll be hanging out with my family in Statesville on Christmas Eve. And I will make sure to drink a dry gin martini with a single olive because that's just how I am. And it'll be fun. Hopefully the coughing will be kept to a minimum.
Oh, God.
I'm kidding. Well, I'm hopeful that, cough drops.
Yeah, there you go. And a mask. I'm going to be here in Charlotte. I usually go to Illinois, but because of COVID, I'm staying home and I'll be cooking my dinner. So Art and I, because we are only going to be with each other. We're not going anywhere. We have decided that because there's too many people that we know have COVID right now. So we're like chilling out. And then I have a friend, my godson's birthday is Monday, and then my birthday is next Wednesday, and then we have New Year's Eve. So it's just party time that I'll be doing all by myself. And then Zooming with my family Christmas morning, because that's when all the activity, because all the little kids will be there then. So that'll be fun. So that's it.
Awesome. I'll be here at home. We don't have any plans. We had our plans to go to the cabins, to the mountains over the weekend, but I don't think we're doing it after all. So we'll be staying home. I still don't know what I'm going to cook for tomorrow. We normally, as Latinos, celebrate Christmas Eve instead of Christmas Day. We wait until 12 o'clock midnight, open up our presents, and then we sleep in on Friday morning, which is Christmas Day. This year, I won't have Matthew with me, so he'll be coming back Christmas Day. So we will have to wait until him come back so we can open the presents. I won't be able to see my second oldest because he's going through COVID, him and his wife, for the past 2 weeks already. He should be already released since last Monday, but he still wants to wait off. So we won't be able to see him. We're not sure if we're going to see him over the weekend or until next Monday. So we're just here hanging out at home. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. I will be, we're going to the country to spend Christmas, which is Lincolnton. It's 1 hour away.
Wow, that far.
Yeah, when I say the country,
Tell hi to, give a big hug to your in-laws and tell them hi for me, please.
Yes. We've been self-quarantining for, 2 weeks now, so we can go see them. And then when we come back, I'm heading to Georgia to help with the runoff elections. So the next show, I'll actually be in Georgia, helping Fair Fight and LULAC as well. I won't be helping people register.
Is that about the text that I got from one of your referrals or something?
I'm not sure.
I got a text from them asking me about reference of you.
No, you're talking about, I'm looking to help the boxer rescue group.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking to volunteer, help them raise money.
I was like, oh, he's a great guy. You go ahead and get him.
Yeah, he's decent.
No, I mean, we really do need to have a show about that. You know how hard it is to rescue, adopt an adopted dog?
Wow.
They want to come and look at your house. They want your finances.
So that's like if you're becoming a foster parent for a human being.
Yes,
dude, like, just walk into the place with an AK and say, I want the dog, and they'll give you everything you want.
No, I mean, we're like, goodness gracious. I mean, they would rather put us through all of this to possibly rescue or adopt a dog when we can just say, never mind, we're just going to buy them from a breeder.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole goal is to keep you from buying it from a breeder, but they make it so difficult. Yeah, that you're like, well, I don't want to put up with all of this. Anyway, so we're not looking to adopt a boxer. We're looking just to help them fundraise because it's a very important cause. Anyway, so I'll be in Georgia. And then and we'll see what happens there. So thank you so much.
Are you gonna do the last show in Georgia?
Yes, I'll be in Georgia.
Oh, okay. So that's gonna be easier for Stacy to be closer, or
yeah, well, she'll be zooming in from I'll be in Atlanta, the Atlanta area.
Okay.
And she's, I think they're in, I don't know where they're at. I think they're in Atlanta.
Anywho, great.
So we will see you next week. I want to wish everyone a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. And just be safe. It's been wonderful to know all of you guys. I wish we could see y'all so I could give y'all some of my banana nut bread. I made 24.
I need that. You better leave me a piece at least outside or something.
I'm gonna freeze some of that bread because I can freeze it for like 5 months, and then I'll try to get some to you after the holidays. So anyway, and Steven, if you like banana nut bread, I'll get you some as well.
Oh, I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
well,
just made some myself, so ooh, yummy.
yes, it took a lot. All right, y'all, we got over.
Bye. Merry Christmas. Feliz Navidad.
Feliz
Bye.
Navidad.